Hey, how are you, Bhuvan?
I'm well.
Hi, Fadi. Mike
Right.
here.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you.
Which time?
Okay. You want to start, Vivek? Take sharing.
Yeah, sure. So, welcome to session number 3, everybody. It's great to have you, and thank you for sharing on the WhatsApp group. For those of you who took out the time and shared, it was really wonderful to hear each one of you. So, let's take some sharing from what got accomplished last week. We uh, gave you a tool called the Empathy Walk. And my little doggy is now barking.
He wants to participate.
So, who would like to share from your experience of practicing the empathy walk with people? Yes.
Hi, Darantep.
Hello.
Do you want to share
I would
about
like to,
empathy?
I would like to
Em-
listen to another's experience first.
You want other people to share first? Okay. Harmeet, you want to share?
No, I will. I actually noticed, Fadi, that in every interaction that I have with anyone, there is a pattern of downloading of the conversation going on about judgment, evaluation, analysis, and the moment you get present that you are downloading, you catch yourself. That very thing allows you to suspend it. It presents you with an opportunity to suspend it, and
Right.
the moment you're suspended, you can actually focus on what the other person is saying, and you can really get to understand where they are coming from, what their world is. You can really get into their shoes, and that is what I found myself doing in some of the most important interactions that I had this week with my wife, with my parents, with my grandmother. It was just amazing for me because it was like a different level of a connection with them altogether.
Mm, very good.
The connection went at a very different level,
Very good. Excellent.
and
Well done.
I was able to implement empathy only by a few percent, like 10-20% only, and that itself was a huge shift in the quality of the connection.
Mm.
What did you discover new with, say, any one person?
Let me share this episode with my wife that I had shared. Anytime she would be there, she would complain, she would share something. I would have this internal dialogue going on of अब एक घंटा गया, like गई भैंस पानी में, कितना समझाऊं इसको, she just doesn't get it. And the moment I could suspend all that conversation, I could actually feel the kind of pain that she was going through, the kind of struggle that she had, and I could actually experience the struggle in her shoes. Exactly, वैसे ही feel करती होगी वो. And at that moment, I stopped all my judgment and I could really be in that moment. And after saying whatever I said to her, the shift in her way of thinking of behavior, immediately order. That's like an immediate result I had.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Great, Harmeet. Thank you for sharing that the shift when you start listening with empathy, when you start getting the perception of the other person sort of also calms down a little bit and starts to communicate very differently with you. Excellent, Harmeet. Thank you. Somebody else who would like to share?
Hi, Vivek, Bhuvan here.
Yeah, Bhuvan, please.
Bhuvan,
So,
before you start, everybody else, can you mute your microphones, please? Yeah, go ahead, Bhuvan.
so 3 areas. One is with my daughter last evening. She's pretty good at her studies, and she's preparing herself for, the entrance examinations into the various IITs, etc. And so she's very competitive as well. And we were talking last night. And normally my conversation with her or both of my children is normally, I say you do. And that doesn't leave much of scope for what what they want to do, or for at least for them to communicate what they want to do. So yesterday I was talking to her, and then she's talking about um, it was a good time actually, and I was talking about okay what's happening, and she's saying scored this much, etc., etc., etc. She was doing well, and then she suddenly says, I'm not enjoying myself, I don't know whether I want to do this. And so the next thing that comes up for me immediately is, oh shucks, 2 years, and what is she going to do? And then the normal conversation would have been, no, you got to do this somehow. And then so then this conversation went on to, but then I could see that there's a download that's happening. I mean, I'm doing something which is my download on her, and I don't know whether there's going to be any space for her to communicate. So I said, okay, so what do you want to do? And then she said, I want to do something which I want to enjoy, something which is very creative. Normally this conversation would have not existed previously. And then we said, okay, so if you're looking at doing the joint entrance examinations, and um, there can be a lot of areas where we can look at doing, you can look at planning to start to prepare for taking admissions. And then she said, yeah, let me look at you know um, uh, some other subjects which I can look at picking up along with the IITs. This conversation would not have existed or would not have happened in case the old dialogue of downloading would have shown up. And at the end of the whole conversation, I can clearly imagine what could have been the status. She would have been sitting in her room trying to do something which she's not really enjoying, and I would have been still ending up with something which was not like really complete for me. So that was like a big shift that I could see. Then personally, again, went down for a walk. I was noticing to see, there are so many people that I want to connect to, and then somehow I stop myself saying this is not the right guy, and that is not the right guy, and this is not the right time, and then that leaves me with not much of opportunity to actually connect with them. So there's a lot of areas that I'm beginning to see that there's this whole conversation around empathy walk and being in their world can open up for me in my relationship with people around me. One more area today in the meeting, we were having a meeting. We normally have a meeting every Monday around business. And I was talking about this, and Sunaina was sharing, my family is most difficult to look at the download. And then we started looking at, what about our customers? Is there any empathy that I have with my customers? Do I really, really know what my customers' problems are? Am I really having a conversation with them to see or to at least hear what they are going through as compared to just a transactional level? Please buy this, and then the whole thing moves into a negotiation kind of a mode, which does not actually kind of um, creates a win-win for everybody. And that's something which I can see, which is a big missing for us, at least in my world. That if I were to have conversations with our business partners, our trainers, our customers, it could make a huge difference in not only our productivity but people around us being experiencing fulfillment.
Fabulous. Thank you, Bhuvan. That was just extraordinary sharing. Real stuff happening in your life, different aspects of your life, and you actually saw the downloading, put it aside, and started to open your mind and open your heart to get new information as well as to see the perspective of the other person. Two aspects. Brilliantly done. Thank you for sharing. Someone else who would like to share what's happening with your experience of connecting with people, with empathy, with people in your workplace, in your families, in your lives. What's new opening up as you're practicing, and or where you're struggling? Who are you struggling with? Who is it that you're trying to listen to, but you just can't listen to that person. So breakdowns included. Yes, Shubham.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So normally I stay in Mumbai, where in place called Media Road. So if you I tried these things to someone who is absolutely random in nature. So when you stay in buildings in Mumbai, there are so many people who go out, come in and go out. And normally in Mumbai, you don't even talk to anybody else apart from your family members, not even to your neighbors. That's a typical Mumbai culture. So nobody interferes in your life. So there has been a family staying in the same building in couple of floors above, and normally there are people who, by the look of the face, you find very repulsive. There's no reason why he is not talking to you, but you find very irritating, and there's no reason for him, for you to perceive that he is like that. It's just that the way he's dressed or the way he talks, and he always has gutka. Gutka is a betel nut in our others might not understand. It's a betel nut which he always eats, typical of a place people in India who comes from who have this habit of having it, and in a very shabbily dressed always. And in the last so many years, we have not even exchanged a smile. So forget about talking. So it so happened that this empathy walk was there in the back of my mind on a Sunday. I just parked my car, and I just randomly met him, and I passed a smile. I don't know why did I do that. There was no reason for me to pass a smile. And just the way I feel that he is irritating, everybody in the building also feels the same about him. Again, for no apparent reason. He's never spoken to bad with me as well. So after so many years of just giving him a smile, he actually walked into me, and we had a random conversation on various topics, right from I never understood that he is just not even a school pass out, but this fellow has made big in his business. He's gone into plastic business. He's an intermediary, and he has a travel business as well, which he's an aggregator. And there are so many things which I believe, it made me feel so stupid, because end of the day, a guy who is not even a high school pass out is running a business of travel. He has a plastic manufacturing stuff, and so on and so forth. And he told me within this conversation that he has properties in a couple of more places, but he likes to stay here because there's something called a vastu. This house is very lucky for him in a vastu manner. So vastu is something which again people might not understand who are not Indians, but typically on the astronomy part of it, this house is very lucky for him. So he's continued to stay in this building and all. So we spoke for around 2 hours, and I really, had this thing not happened last week, I would have never even thought of talking to a person who is completely unknown but known by face. And maybe I realize a perspective of his life without being without being not snobbish, but without being unaware of a particular person's past. So we maybe removed our preconceived judgmental notions and had a empathy walk with him for nearly a person for about 2 hours. I don't remember talking for 2 hours with anybody in life, but it's a person who's completely unknown to me, whom I used to always feel like he's absolutely a no-brainer guy, or he's a irritating person. We had a long heart-to-heart chat, and you won't believe today morning, after when I was again coming from my office, he came and shook his hand with me, and he just went our own ways. But for 3 years, with whom I never spoken to, in just one evening conversation, he's coming and shaking hands with me, and he's gone back. So there's nothing materialistic coming out of that entire thing, but life is more than that. We always want to break barriers and talk to people who otherwise were completely unthought of.
Fabulous. Really well done, Shubham. Actually, the perfect empathy walk, where you got a new connection with a new human being, completely different from yourself, but without judgment. You really got to know a person, and you got to see his world from his eyes, and that's just excellent. Gives you a whole new perspective in how to deal with situations. Very well done, Shubham. Somebody else. Somebody from Mangrove. Let's take some sharing. Aman, you're in SAS in Delhi, right? Gurgaon?
Yeah, Delhi.
So were you able to have any empathy for anyone in Delhi?
Uh, not to an extent, but yes, I tried that empathy walk yesterday evening with my mom while having a discussion about what should we eat for dinner. So she had a very different perspective about what I should be eating and what we should be cooking. So with that, I kept in mind that I should probably listen to her more, and then not keeping my own preconceived notion with respect to whatever I like to eat in dinner. And to that extent, I felt little bit different, that how this empathy walk could probably help me. But I think practice is something which I have to do, and continuously that would have probably helped me out.
So, what did you realize differently when you just listened to what she had to say? You got to get her world of why she thinks the way she thinks, why you should eat the food that she's suggesting. Did you
Yeah.
get into the inquiry of it?
Yeah, so when I was just patiently listening to her about her thought that what we should be having in dinner with respect to for example, lentils and a couple of vegetables, and I was demanding some noodles and some other chicken items. So she had a thought of having a little healthy dinner rather than having a little rich typical Punjabi dinner, what I normally like to have. And then with that, normally I like to do something for entire day. I'll keep my meals very light, but typically for in dinner time, I like to have something which I want. But yesterday, when my mom was discussing something with me, that or telling me something, with this empathy walk, I could able to realize that I should be able to listen to her more accurately and precisely, and try to understand more about her thought, and then how that could probably help me out to some extent, related to health and all. So
Okay.
very minor thing which has happened, but I think inherently more I practice, more this thing will help me out.
Okay, great. I just wanted to know, nothing is minor in this case, okay? After how many
Yeah.
years you got your mother's perspective? For your mother, it must have been like a long time,
Yeah.
My son has grown so much older, and now for the first time in so many years, he's listening to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been really major for her. Wonderful experience. Well done, Aman. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, someone else. Abhijit.
Hello.
Yeah, Abhijit. Please.
Yeah, I actually had a few empathy walks, not just one. One was with my colleague Pavan,
Yeah.
and that was like on a bit of professional basis and a few on the personal terms. So I got to know a lot of things about his family, about his children, and like we shared a lot of things regarding that. And it's nice to like being a colleague and sharing all these things is something I haven't done before. So that was one thing that like I think I haven't done that kind of sharing with Pavan basically. So and he's very senior to me, so I gained a lot of experiences like just by the matter of age. And one I had this with the guard I found at the metro station. So that was quite overwhelming actually, because now he belongs to an entirely different, what I should say, uh, state of mind than me, and I'm an architect, and he used to be a hawker prior to that. So I was just discussing that what all experiences he had and where is he from, and it was quite exciting to know that he believed that being a hawker was much better for him than being a guard. So that's all.
Yeah, getting to know that world of that person,
Yeah.
what drives them, what challenges they have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Wonderful, Abhijit. And what do you're an architect, so you connect with clients,
yeah.
and any empathy in that area?
No, not really. I haven't been in touch with a lot of clients lately. So it's just been these two instances that I could like
Okay,
relate
great.
to it.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Abhijit. Okay, let's go for someone else. Who'd like to go? Where you're succeeding, where you're struggling with empathy.
Yeah, I would like to share.
Yeah, Sunaina.
Yes. Last week I had one success as far as empathy this thing is concerned, because we had a project, actually we had a customer deliverable to be given, and to deliver it we had to go through another department, and we are finding it very challenging because our perspective, I am from education department, and that invoicing has to happen from another department who doesn't understand our perspective, our deadline, and so it was little challenging. And since the deadline was there, so in fact I thought, why not I try this with the person, and I actually sat with the person, started understanding her perspective or what is so difficult, and got the invoicing done on the same day, same time, because she could understand my perspective, I could understand her, and we could solve each other problem. So
Wow.
that is one success I had. However, I felt that I have to knowingly do this, and it doesn't happen to me by default, because I had a in family I had a breakdown, like I just couldn't do the empathy walk. So that means I have to subconsciously I have to keep that in mind, that I need to do this. If I don't do that, it fails. So that is what I learned over last week.
Thank you, Sunaina, for sharing what you just said. And this is very, very important for all of us. See, we have habits that we have developed over the years. So having a conversation with somebody just like as if it's a transaction is a normal way of functioning, where you just are abrupt and giving instructions, ordering, directing, requesting, promising. These are things which are just transactions. But really, empathy is not something that we have any habit over, like actually trying to get to know the world of the other person. It's not something we've done over the past so many years, consciously or unconsciously. So what we are suggesting is, if you practice it for a while, the muscles will start to develop. And once the habit starts to develop, if you do this practice for the next 1 month, 1.5, 2 months, okay, then the practice will develop, the muscles will develop. You will be able to do it more naturally. You may be able to do it even unconsciously, right? Like I'm listening to you right now, or I'm not having a conversation in my mind that I must empathize with Sunaina. Okay, I'm not thinking about it because I've been practicing now for 3.5 years, 4 years, right? So as you practice, you will develop it. It's not like it's a guarantee, because it all depends on the moment. Somebody says something rude to you, at that moment empathy goes out of the window. Or somebody says something threatening to you, empathy is gone out of the window. The threat, the defense mechanism, the arguments, the ego comes into play. So this is very important what you shared, that we need to practice it first consciously so just practice with one person a day. It'll become easier, and don't do it with an agenda to try and get your sanction. Do it with the agenda of trying to understand the other person's perspective. And by chance, the other things also work out. Yeah, well done. Really well done, Sunaina. Thank you. Yes. Prerna.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So over the last week, I did two empathy walks. One was with my colleague Jen, and another one was my team. So it was nice to have a chat with them and get to know them.
Just one second, Prerna. Who are you sitting next to?
I think around your voices.
Is it Sunaina?
No, Kulu.
Kulu, can you just cancel your sound for a few seconds while she's sharing? Just not the mute button, but the the volume of your speaker. Yeah, please go ahead, Prerna.
Hello. Hello.
It's much better.
Okay. So basically, it was nice to know more than just professional beings and like their entire journey of how they've come where they are, and both of them had very different experiences because both of them are very different in nature in terms of seniority as well. So it was nice to know, like, and the second thing that really hit me was downloading part. I had gone to meet my parents, and I spoke to my grandmother on phone. So there I could see a lot of downloading that I'm doing because I know them for many years, and like in my head I know what they are talking and what is their ideas. So some points I do zone out and I don't listen to them that carefully. So I feel that that is the area where I need to practice more.
Perfect. Absolutely. Especially with people in our families, you know, they are communicating something to us. Our voice of judgment, our voice of cynicism, and our voice of fear is actually not letting us get their world, get their perspective. Even though you may be accurate in your judgment and cynicism, but there may be something else that they are really communicating. There is a perspective from where there is a commitment behind what they are saying. They're having their own fears. They are having their own knowledge and experience of life from which they are communicating. And because our voice of judgment and cynicism is so loud, we just are not listening. We are just downloading. And so we are not getting that communication.
Right.
In fact, how many of you have had this experience that you are speaking to somebody and the person is not listening to you? And then you had this experience, you're saying something, the other person is not listening to you. Yes? So then what happens to you? What do you do then?
Pisses me off.
Yeah, but then what is the action you do?
Try harder.
Yeah, you start tying, you speak louder and then louder, and then after some time you give up and you just walk off and say, I can't speak to this person. It's like the communication, actually, the conversation ends. And downloading is going on, conversation cannot happen. And this is with everybody. This is with all members of family, all members of staff, all bosses, clients, everybody. Okay, Fadi, anything? It's 2:28.
Yeah, what I suggest you do to wrap up, just divide them into pairs and let everybody share with each other like 2-3 minutes. Give them 2-3 minutes and then call them back. You just do it automatically. Some people will come to me, some to you, some to Manoj. Okay, everybody, what we're going to do is give everybody a chance to share with a partner. So he's going to divide you and send you into separate rooms. And you'll be there just for 2 or 3 minutes, maybe maximum 5 minutes, and share with each other. And then you come back, okay? Vivek, you got it?
Yeah, all rooms are open.
Okay, let's go. Go to your rooms, guys.
I'm not able to see the.
Yeah, Vivek, it's not come on the screen.
It's not yet come?
No.
You're supposed to go to room 3.
No, I don't think anybody is seeing the invite.
Oh, sorry. Now
it is coming. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, has it come on your screen, everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody's going.
Okay.
Archana, you're in room 9. Archana, you can go to room number 9. Yeah, very good. Devraj is on mute. I'll unmute him. Now, Devraj, speak.
Did Pankaj go to a breakout room? All right, we are back, Vivek. Did Pankaj go to a breakout room? Looks like he didn't.
Pankaj, I should send you to a breakout room?
No, I think now it's time for them to come back, right? Who was he to go? Which room was he supposed to go to?
No. He missed, maybe he missed it for you. I don't know.
I know, but which room was he supposed to go to? You don't remember?
I had done it automatically, so I don't know.
Got it. Got it. We can ask him. He's here. Hi, Aljor.
Hello. I was with Arun.
You were with Arun.
Yes.
Okay.
And he was sharing his conversation with his colleague.
Great. Great. Hey, Harmit. And Vivek, Manoj can take over now, right? as soon as we get it all back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that 5 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. No, okay.
Wait for everybody to come back. I don't think they're all back.
Yeah.
All right, they're back, I think.
Right.
All right, Manoj, over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so before we go on to the next conversation, let's see if you have any questions, concerns, anything that you want to say, anything for anybody. Questions, concerns, comments?
You don't need to have any if you have some.
Yes.
I think you should move on, Manoj.
Okay, good. So, Fadi, you got my message about setting the context for the empathy and the listening?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, Manoj.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, okay, good. So one question for everybody. This is a leadership program, right? So why are we talking about listening and why are we talking about empathy? Somebody? Yeah, Shubham. Pawan, go ahead. And then Shubham.
So my point is, unless you are able to listen, how will you lead? First, you have to listen to, have that ability to understand. And only then you can speak into the list.
Very good. Very good.
You will be able to influence anyone.
Right. Maybe it's not not listening in order to be able to influence. Maybe it's just listening to get the world. Right. And to expand your own paradigm. Right. Good. Thanks, Pawan. Thank you. Shubham?
Just the way people say, common sense is not very common. Similarly, listening is even rarer.
Yes. Very well said. Very well said.
So the rarer you find things, even though those commonly available, all the more for us to to identify first and then react accordingly. People listen half of the sentence and react beforehand. And even when I am there with people whom I know, I always tell them, take a step back, cool down. World will not change in 2-3 minutes. Just take a pause, take a deep breath, and again do the same thing. Maybe many a times the reaction post listening to the entire thing might be far more different than immediately reacting while the conversation is on. So
right.
That's how I look at things.
Very good. Very good. One more person. Yeah, Dr. Habib.
Yeah. Audible now? Can you hear?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. The whole thing is, or anything to materialize, we request the coordination of all the people together. No?
Right.
Not one alone. So we don't know the other man's world, what is there, and that man is always craving to be heard.
Right.
But something very eager to share. There's something he can do better. And when you share and listen to others, what actually happens is that man gets most relieved, a sort of ventilation type. These more openness, more cooperation, more coordination, and that makes them to feel better. So listening and empathetic approach to others' problem is very important to get things done in organizations.
Very good. Very good. So all what you said, all the three of you, I think what you said is important and valid. And we want to look at a couple of additional dimensions to it. So one is we are saying ego to eco. Okay. So what does that mean? Is ego means a boundary. So whenever there is a boundary in the thinking, that's an ego. So whether it is that's a boundary. My department is a boundary. My decision is a boundary. My company is a boundary. So if you want to be inclusive, eco is inclusive, one way to say that. And the whole context of eco is also here collective leadership, not ego-based leadership, not I leading, but is the system becoming more aware. So this leadership is not about individuals becoming the better leaders as a matter of what do you call a personality development only. We are not looking at that. We are looking at a system level awareness, organizational collective leadership. Now, in the current era, everybody has access to information. So everybody does think, everybody has a perspective. And when you start listening to other people's perspective, your paradigm expands. And as some of you already said, that's where the collaboration can happen, the collective leadership can happen. So that's one dimension, is collective leadership, that I want to keep in the background as we are doing these empathy conversations and the listening. The second dimension is that if you look at most of the problems with leadership right now, is that leaders are taking decisions which which affect everybody, but they're not connected with those people. So decisions are being made by people who are not connected to the people who are affected by those decisions. Like I was talking to an educationist and I asked him, when is the last time we took feedback from students about what's happening in the field of education, what's working for them, what's not working for them? Or if you look at governance, when is the last time actually government took feedback from citizens? And you can go like that everywhere, right? Even in an organization, right? We make decisions which affect all employees. How many employees actually have a say in the matter of our decisions? Not many. And there are a lot of sections of employees in a company, customers in a business, users, citizens who are influenced by the decision, who are affected by the decisions, but they're not involved in the whole process. So when we are looking at eco, we are looking at something which works for everyone. That's a different kind of leadership. And you can only take decisions which will work for everyone when you know their world, when you have insights into their world. Otherwise, your reference point is your own world only. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes, very much.
Thank you very much. So, so this is not just about you becoming good human beings, but it's also much deeper, right? You're actually expanding the world of thought from where you take decisions and connect it to the people who are involved, who are affected by your decisions, right? Okay, so now we're going to move on, and we're going to introduce you another tool. Like you looked at Empathy Walk, we're going to introduce you another tool, a very, very powerful tool. It's called the stakeholder interview. So who is a stakeholder? Vivek, you'll be able to show the screens?
Yes.
Yeah, so just give me a minute. So let's look at who is a stakeholder. So when we start making a list of stakeholders, what my experience has been, most people don't include many stakeholders. So let's look at, in your business right now, whatever jobs and businesses you are doing, who are the stakeholders? Let's look at them. So somebody can shout out, who are the stakeholders? Let's have different people speak up. Who are the different kinds of stakeholders?
People who have invested in the organization.
Yes, they are the
employees also.
Yes, so the investors, the employees, who else? Somebody else? Who are the other stakeholders in
customers?
Customers, right? Clients and customers. Who else? Arun, you are on mute. You'll have to unmute.
Vendors.
Vendors, right? Suppliers, vendors. Okay. Then is colleagues, bosses, team members. right? And then R is government a stakeholder?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are citizens a stakeholder?
Yes, public. Hmm.
Right. Sometimes families of customers are also stakeholders. Some families of employees are also stakeholders. So there are many stakeholders, and while we are not saying that you should start going out and interviewing everybody, right? But it's an important part to be aware of that there are many stakeholders. Okay. Initially, as we introduce this tool, we will look at who are the people you could interview, and let's go ahead, Vivek. You ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Can you put the screen on? I hope my volume is okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Vivek, stakeholder interview. Or you want me to put it, Vivek?
Manoj, put on the PDF. Oh, okay.
Okay, is there? Yeah, I had the PDF ready. Yeah. Okay, so here the stakeholder interviews are conducted by practitioners. Practitioners means you and me, right? With key stakeholders. And this could be customers, bosses, team members, peers, within and outside the organization. These interviews allow you to step into the shoes of your interviewees and see your role through the eyes of the stakeholder. So this is important. In an empathy walk, there is no agenda in an empathy walk, right? This is with agenda. And the agenda is how does this stakeholder see your role? Not just see you, see your role. Okay, that's the important part of this tool. Yeah, Vivek. Okay, so the purpose of a stakeholder interview is to see your work from the perspective of your stakeholders. And as you can see on the right hand top screen, it requires you seeing with fresh eyes. Seeing what? Seeing how they see your role. So after you do the interview, in a way, you would get answers to these questions. These questions will get answered for you. What do my stakeholders want from me? What does my team leader, supervisor, management want from me? What does my customer really want from me? What does the team member or a colleague in another department, what does it really want from me? What do they need me for? Yeah, Vivek. Okay, so some of the principles for effective stakeholder interview. First is, like in any case, we are, anything that we are going to learn, some of this is important. First is you're going to suspend your voice of judgment. Judgment about the stakeholder that you're interviewing, the judgment about the situation, judgment about how the stakeholder sees you, all that, right? So you got to see the situation from the eyes of your interviewee. And what matters at this point is not whether you agree with what they say. You don't have to agree with what they say. That's not the point, right? What matters now is that you learn to see the situation through the eyes of the stakeholder. So in the interview, do not focus on, oh, do you agree with what they are saying, right? That's not the perspective of the interview. Just to get how they see your role. And so open your mind, access your ignorance. As the conversation unfolds, pay attention to and trust the questions that occur for you. So there will be a questionnaire that you will create. We will show you a sample questionnaire also. You will create a questionnaire before you start the interview. But when you're actually doing the interview, listen keenly. And some other questions will also come up for you as the conversation goes ahead. Feel free to ask those questions. You're not stuck to the questionnaire that you create in advance, right? What happened? Vivek?
I'm just changing the thing because a lot of lines are getting missed out.
Okay. Okay. or you can put the PDF. You have the PDF?
Just one sec, I'm just showing you.
Okay.
Can you read the last line?
Yeah, I can, but I'll just put the PDF on, Vivek. Just 1 second. Wait a minute. Okay, can you see the PDF?
Yeah, absolutely clear.
Okay, so yeah, I missed something. Yeah. So firstly, when you're setting up this interview, you want to create transparency and trust, right? So you need to establish why you are doing this interview and develop the connected. So it's important that you tell them why you are doing this interview, whatever is appropriate. I tell them sometimes when I've done these interviews with my customers, I tell them you are an important customer and I want to be able to serve you better. And inside of that, I want to do this interview with you. And I request the time. And generally the time I request is around half an hour for when I schedule these interviews. Okay. Now, as I said, it's important that you suspend your voice of judgment, not be focused on whether you agree or not with what they are saying, but just to get what they are saying and how they see the situation. Second is to have an open mind, access your ignorance. Don't be afraid to ask simple questions or questions that you think, oh, if I say this or if I ask this, they will think I should have known, right? Don't worry about all that. Just ask. And access your appreciative listening. That is your open heart. Connect to your interviewee with your mind and heart wide open. Thoroughly appreciate and enjoy the story that you hear unfolding and put yourself in your interviewee's shoes. So keep away your fear, keep away your concerns and just be there with that person and get their world, see things from their perspective, get their context, right? Appreciate that whole view that they are sharing with you. Access your listening from the future field. That is your open will, right? Try to focus on the best future possibility for your interviewee that you feel is wanting to emerge. What might that best possible future look like? So this is the level 4 listening. You're listening for what is the possibility, the biggest possibility here for this person as they are sharing their view of your role and what they expect and things like that. Okay. And we'll share the sample questions here so that it will become clearer. Another important thing is in an interview that you're doing, leverage the power of presence and silence. One of the most effective interventions as an interviewer is to be fully present with the interviewee and present to the current situation. Do not interrupt brief moments of silence. They are golden. Moments of silence can serve as an important trigger points for deepening the reflective level of a conversation. But more often than not, these opportunities go unused because we as interviewers feel compelled to jump in and ask the next question. Don't do that. Be courageous. Stay with the opening of the now. Respect the silence. Okay, so these were the principles of a stakeholder interview.
Any questions about that?
I think, Vivek, I'll create the whole thing and then take questions together. Okay, the whole picture will become better. What the stakeholder interview offers you is enhanced clarity about how your work matters from the viewpoint of your, something came up on my screen, sorry. Enhanced clarity about how your work matters from the viewpoint of your stakeholders. So you will get an enhanced clarity of how your work matters for the person. And you'll also have an understanding of how your stakeholders assess the value you create for them. What are their criteria? How do they evaluate you? You'll get clarity on that. And you'll also get some ideas for quickly improving a situation. Okay, good. So let me take you through some sample questions and then we will open for your questions and comments. Okay. These are 3 questions that you could ask. There are some subsections also. And so let me introduce those 3 questions. The first question, what is your most important objective? So you're asking this to your customer, to your stakeholder, to your supervisor, team member, anybody, right? You're asking, what is your most important objective? And how can I help you realize it? You can even put that and as a subsection. First get what is the most important objective, and subsection is how can I help you realize it? Another way to ask the same question would be, what do you need me for? And now be aware that everybody is not ready with an answer to this question. So be patient in the way you listen and let them create the answer. Okay. Of course, it is also okay to send out your sample questionnaires to people, right? But even then, like, be patient, let the whole conversation come up. One of my favorite questions is when people respond to one question before going on to another question. I generally ask, okay, anything else or what else? Something that would encourage them to add, go deeper, look deeper, and add something. Okay, question number 2. What criteria do you use to assess whether my contribution to your work has been successful? How will you evaluate? What criteria will you use to evaluate that my contribution to your work was successful? We have notions of how they will evaluate, but if we actually know how they're going to evaluate our work, it brings a lot of clarity. And the third question, if I were able to change 2 things in my area of responsibility within the next 6 months. Now, this 6 months is just an example, right? You could also change it to whatever is appropriate in that discussion. So if I were able to change 2 things in my area of responsibility within the next 6 months, what 2 things would create the most value and benefit for you? So that gives you the priority for them, right? Okay, so now let's take questions, comments. What do you get here? Let me stop sharing and we'll come back to the document as and when required. Yes, please. Questions, comments, or what are you getting?
And this handout is with you guys in your workbook.
The case clinic.
Yes. No. Stakeholder interview. Vivek, do you know what?
Manoj's question.
Yeah,
questions. So when we are doing an interview with the customer, we've normally asked some of these questions when we go and actually look at a long-term engagement with our customer. And most often, 2 things come out. One is this conversation around pricing.
Right.
And so obviously the customer almost always wants everything free.
Right.
And the second one is that when the intention is to take an interview and feedback around what is the expectation. I might not be able to deliver on what the expectation is.
Right.
However, the customer's expectation then becomes, since I've given you the feedback, you better do it. So that sometimes becomes an issue around using the interview or using this feedback mechanism.
Right. Let's see. So Bhuvan, if you look at the first question, right? What is your most important objective? Do you really ask that question to the customer?
Yeah, so we ask questions. Okay, so why do you want to do this training?
No, that is different, right? That's a different question. So Fadi will share from his experience, but what we have found out is this is a question which is so what do you call it? Missed by people, so missed out or misunderstood, or generally just people miss out because they're so much focused on their agenda that they can't get the other person's agenda. And we'll share a couple of examples from there. But consider that we don't ask that question, or we are not even listening for that question.
Okay.
So, Bhuvan, if I were to ask you, right, what's your most important objective?
So as a customer, to have my people get skilled in SaaS as quickly as possible so that we can use the software productively. And obviously within budgets.
Now you give me an answer as a customer of SaaS.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking Bhuvan.
Okay.
I was
So
asking
my objective is to actually make sure my team and myself are trained in dealing with disruptive forces that are showing up in the market, and to be able to come out of these forces and be able to leverage on them with the best possible results, probably breakthrough results.
Interesting. Right. Can you say something more?
So there is a lot of change which is happening in the market, and we want to kind of not just react, but at the same time use these as opportunities to grow fast. And we need our people to be ready to be able to see these opportunities and then act on them.
Very good. Got that. Thank you. And what do you need this course for? Or what do you need from us? What do you need us for?
Just what I mentioned before.
Okay.
I mean, get our people, make sure that we are skilled and ready to be able to act quickly.
Very good. And how would you assess that this course was successful for you?
2-3 criteria. Everybody attends fully.
Okay.
And does the exercises
Okay.
fully.
Right.
It should show up in our business results as well.
Right.
And we should be able to pick up areas which we had not seen before as opportunities.
Right. I get that. And of course, some of these are where you will also need to contribute, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And if there were two things that you would want us to focus on, right? What would be those two things? Which would make a big difference for you, which would add maximum value for you?
I'll have to think about it and get back.
Sure. Okay.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
mean, right now there's a blank. I don't know.
Okay. So, no problem. So, Bhuvan, what I was just trying to do is demonstrate to you how a stakeholder interview could be done. And one of the things that I wanted to demonstrate is that you can do it without being stuck to your agenda. And since I was not stuck to any agenda, I was not trying to take the conversation anywhere. I could just listen and see, get what you're saying. I don't have to, it's like, and then you will see, so my experience has been, and Fadi and Vivek can add, that most people miss out the great opportunities that show up in the conversation because they are stuck to their own agenda. And they don't see that actually when you start seeing from the stakeholders interview, your agenda is not a concern at all. It's like, but you kind of, it's like you're blind and you don't see the highway in front of you because you're trying to find some small lanes to get into.
Okay.
Yeah, Fadi, you want to add something?
Yeah, Bhuvan, with your customer, especially when you're doing a sales call, right? You're interested in what your offering is, and then you are interviewing the customer from the point of view of that offering. But if you ask the question the way Manoj said, what is your most important objective in life? Or you're listening for that at least, even though you ask it, he may not answer it, but you're listening for that. So, for example, if they're going to buy a product from you, they're going to buy it because there is an objective they have in mind. And what's that most important objective? Then you can see how your product could be connected to their objective. And also, as you said, if they are asking you to do something that you don't deal in, you can tell them that I think that objective is great, but I suggest if you want, I'll introduce you to somebody else who can do that for you. We don't deal with that. But first you need to know what their objective is and why they're buying what they're buying, right? And then you just be straight with them because you are there to serve them.
Yep. And buying your product is never their most important objective. Like this training program is not your most important objective, Bhuvan. The outcome of the training program or what you want to happen in SaaS because of this is your objective, right?
Yep.
So when we can connect to what is your bigger objective and see how our products and services are in sync with that, right? That's a very different game altogether than pushing the product, right? Great, Bhuvan. Thank you very much. As we go ahead, I think it will become deeper for everybody, but thanks for jumping in and having this conversation. Okay, anybody else? Any questions, comments, any challenges with the stakeholder interview?
You are going to be doing these stakeholder interviews, so I hope you have some questions to ask.
Harmeet, Mahesh.
Do you see it as
Dr. Sanjay?
Can you do it or what?
Generally, how many stakeholder interviews should be done? Our partners.
Do as many as you can, I would say. I think it's very useful to know what is in the field, isn't it? You need to know what's there. So to know it, you need to interview somebody. Not to assume that the way you see it is the way it is for them. You want to see, this is the level at which you're doing an impact